Kryptonians, rune words are here. I'm going to break down everything that you need to know about runes, what they do, how to use them, and my thoughts on the current system. Remember, this is subject to change when the season goes live. I'm currently here on my Stealth Barbarian. We have all of the runes available to us right now. This is just on the public test realm so that we can test them out, but there are a lot of different interactions that these things will add to the game. I went through and we compiled a list of everything that you're going to need to know, and then I put it all into a document that's going to be in the description of this video. So go to the description, check out the document. It'll break down everything, including a couple cool combinations that I like to use, or that could be used on some other classes. And while you're in the description, make sure to let me know in the comments what you think. If you've got to test these runes, I would love to hear some feedback from you. I'm going to show you the document real quick, and then we'll hop back into the game and I'll show you exactly how to use them, what it looks like, and then we'll do a couple combinations of runes so you can see which ones they are and which ones work. We're going to break it down into a couple different sections. We have your pros, your cons, and then how the runes work exactly. I got a little bit of feedback while it was live streaming. And then we also have some fun combinations that you can use. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many fun combinations out there. So we're going to start off with some of the pros, and these are my thoughts. These add a really unique customization to the character, which is what I really, really like when we do things like this. Back in Season 3, when the Seneschal was released, we had the option to customize your characters differently than we ever did. You could drop certain skills or certain aspects because you could put them on with the Seneschal, and you can do that with these runes here too. So I do like that. Allows for fun cross-character interactions. They have a lot of different runes now that they added other classes' abilities into the runes. So you can put a combination in where you can get something like concealment on the rogue, or you can get teleport into your evade on a barbarian, which is really, really fun. With the right setup, they can actually see a pretty significant increase in power. This was something that I wasn't too sure if we were going to see it, but it really does make a pretty big difference, depending on the build and the situation that you use the runes in. Adds in a key source of needed stats to some of the builds. There are a couple different combinations in there where it acts as a utility. So you can get something like maybe 25% critical strike chance. If your build is running a little bit low on critical strike chance, you pop in a couple runes, and now you have that needed stat that you can make your character actually come alive and work correctly. Allows for the creation of builds that have never been seen before. We have had a couple different things come out of the PTR, which, again, subject to change. Who knows if the builds are still going to be there, but we've had some AFK builds. We've had some builds where it goes stealth, and then all of a sudden you're popping out of something, and now you're stunning a whole bunch of monsters. You drop all of your AoE, and then you go right back into stealth. So there's a whole bunch of different things that have been created that we've never seen because of these runes. Runes are tradable. This is actually really cool and really great for the community. Now, I know that what the first thing that comes to mind when you hear something's tradable is that they're going to be so expensive. The good news is they're able to be removed from the socket, so you don't have to have multiple of one rune. So if there's a really good rune out there that everybody wants, you just need one. And then you can move it to all of your characters. You can move it around. It might be a pain to move, but you still have the option of not having to just go to this inflated gold market and then buy that rune, and you won't be able to afford it, so now you're hunting for it. They're going to be shareable. They're going to be tradable. They're going to not cost a fortune, which is really, really good. Some of the cons that I ran into, once you hit the end game, it really feels like there's only going to be so many combinations. There are some incredibly strong ones out there. The Barbarian Warcry is one of the ones that you can get, and it's going to be hard for any class to not use that. It is so strong. It gives you massive attack boost and movement speed. For the Barbarians, most of the builds that we ended up using was Petrify from the Druid, because it gives us additional critical strike damage, and it also does extra damage to the boss. So when we get to the end game, I think our rune combination with the selection that's out right now is going to shrink down quite a bit. Some of the runes have such a high cost that they really rarely proc. So if you're running around for 5 minutes and then you finally get one proc, the gem probably would make a better solution than that, because you'd have the damage or the stat that you need all the time versus once every 5 minutes. So hopefully the cost adjustments get redone when this hits the live server. Runes drop before you can remove them. So this right here is definitely going to be a problem if you're leveling your first characters or leveling new characters and you already have the runes and you want to put them on your character. The gem vendor unlocks at level 20, but you get runes before then. You can put the runes in if you find something that has a socket in it, or if it's another character that you had and you have socketed items that you put on your alt character. You now cannot remove them on that alt character or your first character until level 20. So you either have to find another piece of gear, not use the runes, or you just have to put your stuff in a chest, swap to your main character, remove that stuff, put it back in the chest. Hopefully that is something that they look at and gets adjusted too. The attack runes do not do damage. They just don't do anything at all. They either need to do, and this was something that happened when the Seneschal came out, and everybody, I'm sure, that played Season 3 remembers this. Everybody just couldn't get over the damage. It did nothing. They learned, they redid it real quick, and then the Seneschal actually put out quite a bit of damage. So this hopefully will be something that they change. If they don't want to change the damage numbers that they're giving out, then I would just love to see utilities. I love being able to grab a rune or an ability in something that I don't have to put a skill point in, or I don't have to put a temper on, or something like that, where it saves me and lets me change the build a little bit. I would love to see something like that. So how the runes work. Runes drop from all over Sanctuary. So you're going to start finding them somewhere around 10 to 15 was what I remember starting to find them. You'll need sockets in your armor or two-handed weapons. So they take the place of gems, but they can only be socketed in a 2-socket slot. The helmet now, if you look at the little picture here, the helmet now can have 2 spots. In order to make sure that this was fair, and this was actually a really good idea for Blizzard to do, you can only have up to 2 rune combinations. The reason they did this is because of the Barbarian. The Barbarian can have your helmet, your chest piece, your legs, your two-handed weapon, and then an additional two-handed weapon. It's the only class in the game that can do that. So if they had let it so that you could use rune combinations in every single piece of gear, Barbarians would have 1 additional spot. With this setup now, you can put 1 combination in your chest piece, 1 combination in your helmet, and then you've gotten your setup. You can put a combination in your mace, or you can put it in your pants. They made it so that it is going to be a little bit more fair for the classes. You can have only 2 sets of runes. So 4 runes socketed total. There are 2 types of runes. You have an invocation rune, and then you have a ritual rune. The ritual runes give you offerings when you complete whatever the listed objective is. So if you look here for the Bach rune, you travel 5 meters, you gain 50 offerings. And then your invocation runes, you use the offerings that you gain. When you meet the requirements for the offering, that spell or that ability is cast, or whatever the buff is. So if you travel 10 meters, you gain 100 offerings, and that will invoke your Decrepify. So now these 2 combinations here, traveling, moving anywhere across the map, will invoke Decrepify. There are 3 different types of runes. You have your common runes, those are going to be blue. You have your rare runes, those are going to be yellow. And you have your orange runes, those are going to be legendary. What I found during testing was that a common rune cannot activate a rare or legendary rune. So example, Tech cannot activate Zol. So if you're running your Tech rune here, and this is proccing, it will not activate your Zol rune. For some reason, they have it set so that it does not work. But a rare rune, which is the yellow ones, can activate a legendary rune. Maybe that was working as intended, maybe not, maybe that'll change when we hit the live servers, but that was what I found when I did some testing. In talking to people, what I found was that people want the runes to be a lot more impactful. A lot of it feels pretty mild and pretty held back. So hopefully, as this develops and grows, now remember, this is just the first iteration of this, so this can grow, it can develop, it can change. This is just the very beginning of it. When we hit the live server, this might look completely different. Class changing mechanics. So something that came up that was actually, I thought was a really good idea. Somebody wanted, when the runes went in, they didn't just give you an ability. They changed how your class worked. So for example, if you put in 2 different runes, let's just say that you put in your tech and your lith rune, it made barbarians also cleave as they attacked. So it changed the mechanic of the class and not just gives you the ability to cast earthquakes. So seeing a class-changing mechanic would be pretty cool inside of these runes. Runes give the ability to remove specific affixes from gear. So let's say, for example, the stat boosts. There's one that gets critical strike chance. So that one removes stat from the gear. You don't have to have quite as many affix lines. Or let's say that there's one with cooldown reduction on it. So now having the Harlequin's Crest be mandatory isn't so necessary. Or maybe one with really high damage reduction on it. So this way you don't have to go out and find Teriel's Might. Or something with resistances, because resistances are very tough in the new season because of Torment 4. So something like that would be really, really cool to see with these rune setups here now, to avoid having to be forced into using some of the mythic uniques. Runes should change the items that you put them into. Somebody was talking about this because if anybody has played Diablo 2 and they've seen how rune words work in Diablo 2, they loved the fact that you put in a rune combination and it completely changed the item. It made it so that it had a new name. It added a whole long list of stats. It was so satisfying. So having that feeling would be really, really cool in this. I want it to be its own unique Diablo 4 way of doing things. So I don't think that we should go exactly the route that Diablo 2 did. But this would be something that would be cool if you put them in and then the name of the piece of item that you did changed. It would feel like you had something brand new every time that you put your runes in. Some of the cool combinations here, and this, remember, again, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We did something like Watt and Buck. This is where every time that you travel 10 meters, you're going to cast Decrepify. This works in conjunction with your Zol rune. So Zol, every time you invoke a power from another class, which is Decrepify, it's going to give you 150 offering, which is quite a bit. And then every 400 offerings you get, your rune combination will give you +3 to all skills for 5 seconds. I'll show you what this looks like in game. You will be surprised that your uptime on your skills is going to be all the time as long as you're moving. There is going to be +3 to all skills no matter what you do. Another fun combination that all of these barbarians out there know about, the Tech rune and the Lith rune. When you stand still, you get 25 offerings every 0.3 seconds. That means that in 1 second, you're getting an earthquake. And then with that earthquake, in that specific build, you are spamming your shouts. So that means that every time that you cast a skill, you are also casting Petrify. So this was a really fun combination that came out for the ground stomp quake builds that came out. This was very, very widely used, and it was a lot of fun to do. And then we had something for my favorite, the Tugboat Rogue. This was something that one of the officers of my clan put together during the last PTR. She named it the Tugboat Rogue. It was an evade rogue, and you literally just evade as fast as you can go when you get this rogue set up, and it is so much fun to do. With this combination here, you cast an evade, you get 50 offerings. You can have that barbarian warcry up so often, and if you put in Zol to get 150 offerings every time that warcry goes off, you can cast your Dark Shroud. That will actually save you an aspect like Umbris. Then you don't have to worry about it. Now you have all of that extra damage reduction. You now have Warcry from the barbarians with extra movement speed, so extra damage. It is a pretty crazy combination to see. So we're going to go into the game, and I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like. I'll show you how to do it, where to go. If you want to test these runes, what is really, really cool that they did is that they added the jeweler into the training grounds here. So you can come right over here, and then you can remove all of your runes, and you can test out other ones. So I have the combinations all set up here. I'm going to show you exactly what these look like. We're going to start with the Decrepify and the movement speed here. So you put in your ritual rune, and then you're going to put in your invocation rune. So we're going to put both of these in. I'm using the armor because I want to keep the damage from the gems in my weapons. We're going to test this out a lot more, see if that's actually something that they're going to go in the armor or if they're going to go into the weapons. I'm sure that's going to come out before the season launches. Okay, so round 2. There's a crazy interaction actually where your stealth activates Zolrune because it's casting an ability from another class. So I actually put it into the one. So this was activating all the time. So we're going to use this here. We're going to use the pants because you can put them in any 2 socket slot. This will probably end up being different, so this is why I'm not going to demo it right now. But I have a whole bunch of videos on the YouTube page of this working if you wanted to see it. It has some crazy interactions, so head over to YouTube, check it out if you haven't. So what we did, we put in your 2 runes here, travel 10 meters, and then you're going to activate Decrepify. What is really, really cool is the tooltip tells you exactly how much of what you need to do in order to activate your rune. This one is travel 10 meters. This one tells you that you need to invoke the class power 3 times. You don't have to do math. You don't have to guess. You put the runes in and it tells you exactly how many of whatever the requirement is to satisfy the need. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run around. So what you're going to see, these are your icons here for your runes. They will fill up as the requirements get met. And when they go off, they'll cast. So right now the light gray is where we haven't cast anything yet. The light gray is how much we've satisfied. So as we start to run around, we start casting Decrepify. Now, Decrepify is casting, and it's not very far. This is our plus skills here. If you watch, when we start to run around, we have plus skills up now. We're going to keep on going. As soon as the plus skills falls off, it comes right back up. So if you're playing on a class that is running around constantly, you will always have +3 to skills up all the time. It's pretty crazy, and that is a big jump in damage reduction, whatever it is that you wanted to add. So let's show you one of the other ones. We're going to do, I can't really do the Dark Shroud one because I'm not on the Rogue, and that Rogue has to be set up specifically to constantly evade. If you want to check it out, go check out Canadian Arrow. Her YouTube page has the video, has the build. So we're going to put in the Barbarian one. So we're going to do your 2 runes in here. So as you can see here, when we put the runes in, cast the skill with a cooldown 10 times. So it tells me exactly how many times I need for Petrify to proc. And we put in our other runes here. And what's going to start happening is immediately we're going to start casting Earthquakes. So they just start to spawn all over the place. So then as we start to cast our skills, you're going to see Petrify starts to come up. So then we just start casting skills with cooldowns, and Petrify comes up, and now Petrify procs. It makes for a really, really fun combination. So that's it. That's Runewords. That's how they work. That's everything that you need to know currently for what is out there that's going to be launching in Season 6 when this comes out. Season 6 is going to run concurrent to the Vessel of Hatred. You do not need the Vessel of Hatred in order to be able to play Season 6. If you don't have the Vessel of Hatred yet, join the Discord. The link is in the top of the description of this video. I'm doing a giveaway for the Standard, the Deluxe, and the Ultimate Edition of the Diablo 4 expansion pack. It is completely free. It is my thank you to people like you who have watched the video to this point. Hop into Discord, join, go to the VOH giveaway channel. You can sign up there. I'm live on YouTube and Twitch every night. Stop by Theorycraft with me. I would love to hear from you. Catch you on the clip side.